All of the blessings I have received, how could they have been bestowed upon me? So I'll put it all back. Hey everybody, Brandon Cunningham here, a nurse practitioner from Bridging Health Clinic. Uh, we're in Harrisonburg, Virginia today, actually in our backyard. And today we're going to show you how to make some lavender ointment or salve, whatever you want to call it. And here's a couple of our lavender plants. Um, you do, it's best to get them when they're flowering. There's some flowering going on here, but it's still going to work pretty well with the bud and the flower. And if you want to get some of the leaves, that's probably okay too. This is one of my favorite plants. It's a well-known one, and I really think personally that it gives you this really heady experience that can be kind of uplifting. Um, and at the same time, there can also be a little bit of sedation to it and calming. It kind of depends on where you're at in life and what's going on. All right, I'll see you in the kitchen soon. So we made it back inside. We harvested our lavender buds and flowers. One thing I did forget to mention when I was out there, we're making infused oils. You do want to do this on a dry day so you don't get a lot of water mixed in with your oil, and then you can basically grow mold in your product. For this, I don't think I'm going to let it sit out and wilt because it should be okay. But anyway, we have our lavender. I weighed it, and we have about 3 ounces here. I've been experimenting and been making oils with a 1-to-3 ratio. So if we have 3 ounces of lavender, I'm going to use about 9 ounces of oil. And of course, if I can't get all this herb submerged in the oil and covered, I'll just add some more oil as needed and just change my ratio. The oils that, that I'm using is cocoa butter, 3 ounces of that. I have some coconut oil and some almond oil. And I've had some pretty good luck once we melt this down, and we'll put it on the stove in a double boiler, which I'll show you in a little bit. And then eventually I'll put it in the fridge, and once it starts to congeal, you can stir it up and it makes kind of like this ointment. I don't have any shea butter because Kat brought it to my knowledge that that's kind of a vulnerable harvested product now. So we kind of kicked that out, and we'll see how it works with these 3 oils. But all right, I'm going to chop this and get this in the jar, and I'll see you at the stove. We took a little break before we go to the stove, but my family made it a point to say maybe you should take some time and smell the flowers right after you cut them. It's quite beautiful. We made it over to the stove where we're going to actually infuse the oil. This process, you do have to get either have a double boiler or kind of make your own double boiler. I'd usually just get a pot, and I put a wash rag on the bottom and fill it up with some water. And then of course you get your jar with your herbs and your oil, and you get it in here. And then you want to get it up to about 160 degrees, and you do that for an hour. You can do it a little bit longer if you want to. It's kind of up to you and how much time you have. But this process is nice because not only will it infuse the oil, but it also does a pasteurization, which I think is important if you are putting any sort of ointment or oil into a wound. We won't be doing that for this herb, but it's good to remember. You can see I kind of have it halfway off the burner, because once you get it up to the temperature that you need it at, the oil really does really well at maintaining that temperature. So I just kind of set it to the side, just barely on there, and it typically stays about 160 for an hour and a half or so. One thing I wanted to point out is I do put a little bit of a covering on here because lavender, as we all know, is very fragrant, and those fragrances are volatile oils. And so this helps keep those volatile oils in place in there, so we don't lose that beautiful smell and medicine that the plant gives. So I think that's everything I have for you. We'll see you in about an hour and do the next step. All right, everybody. It's been about an hour at about 160 degrees with the herbs and the oils infusing. So I have a mesh strainer here that I've poured it into. and basically going to just kind of squeeze out all the oil. I usually let it sit for a minute because it is a little warm on the hands, but right now it's kind of the perfect temperature. It feels quite nice. So after this part, all we're going to do is put a cover over this and place it in the refrigerator, and I'm going to check it every 20 minutes or so. And once it starts to kind of semi-congeal, we're going to try to whisk it together and make kind of like a thick ointment out of it. So I'll see you here in a little bit. All right, so it's been about an hour and a half or 2 hours, give or take, with having this in the fridge and a cover over top of it. And it's kind of it's not fully solid, but it's getting a little hard. And so what you basically do now is get a whisk and hopefully it kind of creams up a little bit, and then we're all done. So you just get this in here and mix it around. And if it still doesn't get to the consistency you like it, you can put it back in the fridge for 10 to 30 minutes and do it again. And once you're done, you can get it and put it into your containers, label it, and you'll have some ointment that you can use either after a shower or before you go to bed at night, something to help kind of relax you and calm you down. And it smells quite nice. It's kind of like a chocolate lavender, since there's cocoa butter in there, like a sweet chocolate lavender. But yeah, you can experiment with any oils and any herbs and just kind of have fun with it. Enjoy your homemade products. See you next time. We are so provided for.